A police union is backing a North Carolina officer under fire for shooting and killing an 18-year-old mentally ill man. His family says Keith Vidal, who weighed all of 100 pounds, was not a threat to officers. CNN's David Mattingly has the story.
Shortly after he shot and killed 18-year-old Keith Vidal, we can hear Southport Police Detective Brian Vassy on the radio saying he was defending himself.
I don't know if you've been advised or not, but shots fired. I've had to defend myself against this subject.
Apparently suffering through a schizophrenic episode and holding only a screwdriver, Keith Vidal had been hit with stun guns and was on the floor of his home, restrained by 2 officers when Detective Vassy shot him in the chest. Vassy's attorney now tells me why.
You're telling me this young man was not subdued, that he was fighting back?
He was, yes, sir.
He was actually taking that screwdriver and stabbing one of the officers multiple times?
In the abdomen area, yes, sir.
But not causing any injury?
Apparently he had not. Again, apparently the officer had a bulletproof vest on.
Just 5'3" and maybe 100 pounds, the smiling teen in these pictures, according to Vassy's attorney, had become such a threat to the safety of the one officer that Vassy had no choice but to use deadly force.
Did that officer yell for help or ask for someone to shoot this man?
No, sir, did not.
Then why did the detective feel like he needed to use deadly force at that moment?
Because the stabbing motions traveled to an exposed part of the down officer, and he was not being subdued.
The North Carolina Police Benevolent Association agrees. The legal support group calls the situation dangerous, calls Keith Vidal's screwdriver a deadly weapon, and says Detective Vassy used authorized law enforcement action. The aggressive and threatening picture described is in sharp contrast to the family's belief that Keith Vidal should not have died.
Why would somebody shoot a 90-pound kid with 2 full-grown officers on top of him with 2 tasers deployed inside him? There's no reason.
Was that the only option here, to pull a firearm and pull the trigger?
At the instant that it occurred, again, having to step up into the shoes of the officer to make that judgment call, he had to make it in a split instant.
Was it the right decision?
Yes, sir.
David Mattingly, CNN, Southport, North Carolina.